Have you ever looked at someone you love and wondered if you truly know them? What lies beneath that smile, those gentle words, those seemingly innocent late nights at work? For Vanessa Bell, that nagging doubt wasn't paranoia. It was her subconscious screaming a warning she couldn't yet understand. When Vanessa hired private investigator Derek Moore, she expected evidence of an affair, lipstick on a collar, secret text messages, perhaps a hotel receipt. What she received instead was a thick manila folder containing death certificates, newspaper clippings, and crime scene photos. Three women, Isabella, Lydia, and Carmen, all beautiful, ambitious, and intelligent, all married to Robert Bell, all dead under mysterious circumstances, all cases closed as accidents, until now. Robert Bell, charming entrepreneur, community pillar, and serial husband, had perfected the art of murder. For years, he'd cultivated a flawless public image while systematically eliminating wives who threatened his carefully constructed world of wealth, power, and control. Have you ever ignored a gut feeling that someone close to you was hiding something dark? Drop a comment below. Your instinct might save a life someday. Columbia, South Carolina, with its grand state house, flowing Congaree River, and vibrant university district, prides itself on Southern hospitality and tight-knit community values. In this city where neighbors know each other's business and families attend the same churches for generations, the Bell residence stood as a monument to success, a colonial-style home where danger seemed impossible. At 32, Vanessa Bell had everything: a thriving interior design career, social connections throughout Columbia's elite circles, and a husband who seemed devoted to her happiness. Robert, 41, had built a real estate development company from scratch, donating generously to local charities and mentoring business students at the university. Their Instagram showed weekend trips to Charleston, anniversary dinners at upscale restaurants, and holiday parties where they played the perfect hosts. Yet small discrepancies began accumulating like dust in forgotten corners. Robert's phone would ring at 3 a.m. and he'd take the call outside. Business trips extended without explanation. Bank statements showed withdrawals from accounts Vanessa didn't know existed. When questioned, his answers came too quickly, too smoothly, rehearsed explanations delivered with a smile that never quite reached his eyes. His temper flared when she pressed for details, then vanished just as quickly. How many of us dismiss that cold feeling in our stomach when something doesn't add up? We rationalize, make excuses, tell ourselves we're overreacting. Vanessa did the same. She buried her concerns beneath gratitude for their comfortable life, convinced herself that successful men needed space, that marriage required trust. After all, confronting the truth meant risking everything she'd built. It's easier to look away than to acknowledge the monster sitting across from you at breakfast. On May 3, 2024, at 1:30 a.m., police lights illuminated a rarely used alley near Five Points. Isabella Monroe, 29, lay dead behind an old colonial building. The aspiring actress had been reported missing hours earlier. By morning, news vans crowded the scene. Columbia residents locked their doors, parents kept children inside, and university students traveled in groups. A city that hadn't seen a high-profile murder in years suddenly felt vulnerable. Unaware the killer walked among them. That same morning, Vanessa discovered a $50,000 withdrawal from their joint account. When confronted, Robert claimed it was for a property investment opportunity that couldn't wait. His explanation made logical sense, yet something in his tone felt hollow. Later that day, while searching for tax documents, she found a locked drawer in his office. Inside, 3 different life insurance policies, each for a different woman, each listing Robert as sole beneficiary. None were for Vanessa. The policies totaled over $5 million, far more than seemed reasonable for standard coverage. The email arrived from an untraceable address. Your husband isn't who you think he is. Ask about Isabella Monroe. Ask about the other wives. Get out while you can. Attached was a wedding photo, Robert, younger but unmistakable, beside a beautiful woman Vanessa had never seen. The timestamp, 8 years ago. The woman, Isabella Monroe, the same woman whose death dominated the local news. Vanessa's hands trembled as she searched online, finding two more wedding announcements with Robert's face beside different women. The human mind protects itself from trauma. As evidence mounted, Vanessa cycled through rationalization, denial, and bargaining. Perhaps it was identity theft. Perhaps Robert had a twin. Perhaps these were elaborate Photoshop creations from someone trying to destroy their marriage. She found herself defending him in her thoughts, even as her body responded with physical symptoms of fear. Insomnia, racing heart, cold sweats when he touched her. "I've known this man for 4 years," she told herself, but a quieter voice responded, "Have you? Or have you known the character he created for you to fall in love with?" Derek Moore didn't fit the private investigator stereotype. No rumpled coat or whiskey breath. Instead, at 45, the former digital forensics expert for the FBI brought methodical precision to his work. His office, minimalist, organized, with cutting-edge technology, reflected his approach. When Vanessa arrived with trembling hands and a folder of suspicious documents, Moore recognized the fear in her eyes. He'd seen it before in victims who hadn't yet accepted their status. "I thought he was having an affair," Vanessa explained, spreading the insurance policies across Moore's desk. "Now I'm afraid it's worse." Moore's preliminary research confirmed her fears within hours. Robert Bell had married Isabella Monroe in 2016, Lydia Morgan in 2012, and Carmen Reyes in 2008. None of these marriages showed legal dissolution through divorce. All three women had died, Carmen in a house fire, Lydia in an apparent hiking accident, and now Isabella under investigation as a homicide. Moore constructed a timeline that revealed a chilling pattern. Each marriage lasted approximately 4 years. Each wife died shortly after making Robert the beneficiary of substantial insurance policies. Each death occurred during a period when Robert claimed to be traveling for business. Following each death, Robert relocated to a different part of South Carolina before establishing a new identity. Bank records showed large cash withdrawals before and after each death. Cell phone data placed Robert near each crime scene, despite his claims of being elsewhere. Property records revealed hidden assets under shell companies tied to Robert's business. The evidence painted a portrait not of infidelity, but of calculated murder. Has your intuition ever saved you from danger? That little voice saying something wasn't right? Share your story in the comments. Your experience might help someone recognize the warning signs before it's too late. And if you're finding this story valuable, hit that like button to help others find it. Isabella Monroe grew up in Charleston with dreams of Broadway. Her acting coach called her raw talent personified. At 25, she was gaining recognition in regional theater when she met Robert at a charity gala. Friends described their courtship as whirlwind. Within 3 months, they were married. Isabella's diary, recovered from her apartment, revealed the relationship's evolution. Initial entries bubbled with excitement about her supportive husband, but later pages documented controlling behavior. Robert discouraged auditions, questioned her friendships, and gradually isolated her from her support network. Her final entry, dated 2 days before her death: "He's not who I thought he was. I'm telling him I want out tomorrow. I deserve better than this cage, no matter how gilded." Lydia Morgan, Robert's second wife, was an investigative journalist known for exposing corruption. Colleagues remembered her as fearless and meticulous, qualities that may have led to her death. Her notes, discovered by Moore, suggested she had begun investigating financial irregularities in Robert's business. She died in 2016 during a solo hiking trip, her body found at the bottom of a cliff with injuries consistent with a fall. Carmen Reyes, the first known victim, was a brilliant community organizer with political aspirations. Her advocacy for immigrant rights had earned her national attention. The fire that claimed her life in 2012 was ruled accidental: faulty wiring in their home. Investigators never questioned why Robert had increased her life insurance policy just weeks before, or why he was conveniently out of town that night. Moore identified Robert's victim selection pattern. He targeted accomplished women with promising futures but limited family connections. Each possessed substantial personal assets or career potential that Robert could exploit. He approached them during vulnerable transitions, career changes, relocations, or personal losses, when their guard was naturally lowered. His courtship technique followed a consistent script: lavish attention, accelerated commitment, and promises of supporting their dreams. Once married, he systematically dismantled their independence while presenting himself as the devoted husband to the outside world. Robert employed classic predator tactics, isolating victims from friends and family, controlling finances, creating dependency, and gaslighting them when they questioned his behavior. He manufactured emergencies to test their loyalty, monitored their communications, and strategically displayed both charm and rage to keep them off balance. Most insidiously, he documented their mental instability to authorities and friends, creating a preemptive alibi should they ever accuse him of wrongdoing or meet an untimely end. The investigation accelerated when Moore connected with Detective Marcus Reed, who was working Isabella's case. Forensics had recovered synthetic fibers on Isabella's clothing that matched samples from Lydia's cold case file. DNA analysis of skin cells found under Isabella's fingernails didn't match any database entries, but when compared directly to samples from Robert's discarded coffee cup, they showed a perfect match. Financial forensics revealed the true motive. Robert had created an elaborate network of accounts where he funneled his wives' assets after their deaths. The combined wealth from insurance policies, property sales, and inherited investments exceeded $7.3 million, all hidden through shell companies and offshore accounts. Moore obtained Robert's cell phone records through legal channels. Despite claiming to be at a real estate conference in Charlotte the night of Isabella's murder, his phone pinged towers near the crime scene. GPS data from his car's navigation system, subpoenaed by Detective Reed, showed it parked 2 blocks from where Isabella was found. When overlaid with historical data, a pattern emerged. Robert's devices had been near each crime scene when his previous wives died. His digital footprint created a map of methodical murder that contradicted his carefully constructed alibis and revealed years of calculated movement. The final piece fell into place through surveillance footage from a bank across from the alley where Isabella was found. The grainy video showed a figure matching Robert's build entering the alley at 11:42 p.m. and leaving at 12:17 a.m. The figure wore gloves and carried a duffel bag when entering, but not when exiting. Additional footage from traffic cameras captured his vehicle's license plate nearby, while ATM cameras from earlier that evening showed Robert withdrawing cash while wearing the same distinctive jacket seen in the alley footage. The timestamp, 10:38 p.m., directly contradicting his claim of being 90 miles away in Charlotte. Had Vanessa not noticed the financial discrepancies, had the anonymous tipster not sent that email, had Moore not connected the patterns across jurisdictions, Robert would have continued his deadly cycle. He had already begun researching potential targets in Greenville for his next identity. A rental agreement found on his laptop showed he planned to relocate within weeks after Vanessa's unfortunate accident. To Columbia's elite, Robert Bell exemplified success and generosity. He served on charity boards, mentored business students, and hosted fundraisers for children's hospitals. His company sponsored Little League teams and donated to disaster relief. Local magazines had profiled him as a business leader with heart. Behind closed doors, investigators discovered a calculating predator. His computer revealed research on undetectable poisons, offshore banking, and identity creation. His journal, encrypted but cracked by forensic technicians, detailed his contempt for his wives, referring to them as investments with expiration dates. He meticulously tracked their assets and planned their deaths months in advance. Robert's motives transcended simple financial gain. Psychological profilers identified a complex pathology. He derived satisfaction from control, manipulation, and ultimately playing God with his victims' lives. Each murder followed a financial setback or threat to his authority. Isabella had mentioned divorce, Lydia had discovered his fraudulent business practices, and Carmen had begun questioning missing funds from their joint accounts. The financial trail showed Robert used his wives' money to create his philanthropic image, the very reputation that helped him attract his next victim. His charitable donations came not from his earnings, but from dead women's accounts. Robert's manipulation extended beyond his wives. He cultivated alibis through carefully maintained friendships with influential community members. He documented fabricated concerns about his wives' mental health with their doctors. He even manipulated investigators in previous cases, appearing devastated and cooperative. His calculated tears and apparent transparency had fooled police, medical examiners, and insurance investigators alike. Each successful deception reinforced his belief in his own invincibility and intellectual superiority. Forensic psychologists classified Robert as an organized, mission-oriented killer with narcissistic personality disorder. Unlike impulsive killers, he operated with precision and patience. His lack of empathy allowed him to compartmentalize his crimes while maintaining his public persona. Most disturbing was his adaptability, learning from each murder to perfect his technique for the next. The arrest required precise coordination. With Robert growing suspicious of Vanessa's behavior, investigators feared he might accelerate his plans for her. They created a controlled scenario. Vanessa would confront him about the financial discrepancies while wearing a wire, with tactical teams positioned nearby. On May 15th, she initiated the conversation in their living room, her voice steady despite her terror. When she mentioned Isabella's name, Robert's demeanor transformed instantly. His eyes hardened as he approached her, unaware that his whispered threats were being transmitted to officers surrounding the house. The tactical team breached seconds later. News of Robert's arrest exploded across Colombia. Neighbors stood stunned behind police lines, watching the respected businessman being led away in handcuffs. National media descended on the quiet community, interviewing anyone connected to the case. Former colleagues expressed disbelief, while business partners distanced themselves from his ventures. The university removed his name from donor plaques. Online forums filled with people who had interacted with him, each re-examining every conversation, searching their memories for signs they might have missed. The prosecution built an airtight case. DNA evidence, financial records, digital footprints, and surveillance footage created a comprehensive picture of calculated murder. Most damning was a hidden storage unit rented under a false name, containing trophies from each victim: Isabella's theater program, Lydia's press credentials, Carmen's campaign button, alongside detailed plans for Vanessa's accident. Does this case make you question how well we know those closest to us? Share your thoughts below and hit subscribe to join our community exploring the psychology behind true crime cases. In the months following Robert's arrest, Vanessa became both victim and reluctant public figure. Reporters camped outside her home. Online commenters questioned how she couldn't have known, while others praised her courage. She received death threats from those who believed she was complicit, and marriage proposals from strangers fascinated by her story. Through it all, she struggled with crushing guilt, wondering if she could have somehow prevented Isabella's murder had she recognized the signs sooner. Vanessa sold their house, donated Robert's assets to the victims' families, and moved to a small apartment where no one knew her name. She declined book deals and interview requests, choosing instead to work quietly with domestic violence organizations. She developed a program teaching financial professionals to recognize signs of economic abuse and coercive control. Her workshops for law enforcement focused on identifying predatory patterns before they escalated to homicide. Though she never sought the spotlight, her work helped change how authorities approach domestic homicide prevention across South Carolina. The most dangerous predators wear the most convincing disguises, Vanessa explained in her only public statement. They count on our politeness, our benefit of the doubt, our unwillingness to believe monsters exist in our neighborhoods and bedrooms. Her journey from victim to advocate wasn't linear. Some days, panic attacks prevented her from leaving home. Other days, she found strength in connecting with the families of Robert's victims. Together, they created a support network for those rebuilding lives shattered by deception and loss. Robert Bell's crimes exposed dangerous gaps in our systems. 3 women died before patterns were recognized across jurisdictions. Insurance companies paid claims without investigating connections between policies. Property transfers after suspicious deaths went unquestioned. Most critically, our collective tendency to accept charming facades allowed a predator to operate in plain sight. His respectability became both weapon and shield, the perfect camouflage for calculating violence. Colombia changed after the Bell case. The police department created a specialized unit focusing on domestic homicide prevention. Financial institutions implemented new protocols for flagging suspicious policy changes and account activities. Community workshops taught citizens to recognize coercive control and economic abuse. Most importantly, people began to understand that monsters rarely look monstrous. They look like the neighbor who always waves hello. If this story made you think differently about trust and safety, subscribe to True Crime Scene Insider for more cases that challenge our assumptions and provide lessons that could save lives. As you go about your day interacting with colleagues, neighbors, and loved ones, ask yourself this: how many masks do we encounter daily? And what might lie beneath the smiles of those we think we know? The answer could be life-changing.